Hi, and welcome back to the Jewitch Healer. My name is Claudia, and I'm here to share parts of my own journey to help you heal and break through what's holding you back from living your most joyful, abundant, and authentic life. We all deserve happiness, and sometimes we're our own roadblock. So let's work through that. I thought I would talk about a specific topic. I'm going to do a series of videos on that topic and trying to uncover psychologically what could be holding us back and maybe some tools to help you work through that. And then I thought I would do a pick a card reading at the end of each video to give you some more guidance on what the next steps could be. Whether it's a particular chakra that you should work on or a particular crystal. And we'll see what happens and what intuitively calls to me to do that. So if you stick around, I hope to get some feedback on how all of this connected with you and, all of those good things. So let's talk about the ego a little bit. Carl Jung came up with the concept of the ego death, dark night of the soul. And so this is when an old version of you starts to fall away. The version of you that you built on fear, pride, control, the need to be liked, which is all like outside validation. And it can feel really confusing and painful, or like you're losing a sense of self when you're going through this ego death. But it's all part of healing because you're not just letting go of the parts of you that were never truly you. The ego is like a mask that we wear to protect ourselves. It's like saying, I have to prove myself. I need to be in control. Or sometimes the negative self-talk where you say that I'm not enough. But the healing really truly begins when we realize that those thoughts come from past pain and trauma, and it's not from our true self. So as the ego softens and we stop needing to be like right all the time, we stop blaming others, we stop trying to force things. Instead, we start to choose peace, and we learn to trust, we learn to forgive, we learn to set healthy boundaries, and to love ourselves for who we truly are. And then in return, all as we're vibrating this out into the world, we start to receive the same. So counterintuitive to how we normally try to control things out of fear, the moment that you start to let go, and as they say, I'm not an A, but I have heard the term, you let go and let God. And it's just about having faith that everything is always going to work out for you. And when you truly feel that way in some parts of your life, why not feel that way in every aspect of your life, including when it comes to your heart? So ego death isn't the end. It's the beginning of becoming a more real and a more free and a more in tune person with your own soul. So that would lead me to the real topic of today, which is attachment styles in relationships. It's these patterns that we subconsciously carry from our childhood that shape how we connect and love and communicate with people and how we respond to intimacy and emotional closeness. So understanding your attachment style can be one of the most healing things that you can do. I mean, it was the start of my healing journey this time around because I had no idea that the patterns that I was having in my relationships. My, so many other parts of my life were great, but my personal relationships were just not fulfilling and toxic in the end. I kept getting involved with narcissists or um, people pleasers or unavailable women. And it was just like this whole cycle of just lesson after lesson after lesson. And I made a decision that I'm ready to find my soulmate. I'm ready to be with my twin flame if I have one. And so because I am so like determined to have a real good healthy relationship, that I never ever want to experience all of that stuff anymore. I told the universe, I am done. I'm done with those lessons. I'm done. It's time for me to grow. Why me now at 46, almost 47, I still haven't found the love of my life. And if I have, then I may have done something to push them away. And I definitely have learned some lessons along the way. So who knows, right? If someone is destined to be with you, they are going to be with you no matter what. And sometimes even after some time out. So if you're part of that like twin flame journey and you believe in the cycles of what happens there, there's something really amazing and truly dynamic about that relationship when you resonate with the twin flame journey, because it is a complete focus on your inner self and growth and facing your shadows and letting go of your ego, and truly addressing the things that allowed you to have these toxic behaviors. A lot of times the other person reflects what things you need to work on and vice versa. So the difference between that and a karmic, so there's karmics, twin flames, and soulmates. And the difference between a twin flame and a karmic, which the dynamic could be very, very similar because you're experiencing growth. It's a lot less traumatic. Sometimes soulmates are there to help you heal from whatever karmic relationships created any type of trauma in you. A lot of times karmics do bring up trauma or create trauma. If you have gotten involved with someone with narcissistic tendencies or avoidant attachment styles, and you're an anxious attachment, which I'll talk about those things in a minute, it'll start bringing things up in you that you need to heal. But a karmic is gonna create these traumas in you, and sometimes they're there for other reasons. I don't know. I'm not God. I don't know why these relationships truly come into our lives or what I signed at the beginning of my journey here on the planet, but I want an easy life next time. I feel like I've just like chosen to be like reamed when it comes to love. My God, not. Yeah. So, but it makes me a lot wiser because now I'm determined. I definitely want a healthy relationship, and even at my age, I don't know how to have one. I'm a healer when it comes to energy and when it comes to other people and even other people's relationships. I mean, I am the friend that everybody calls when they're having issues with their boyfriends or girlfriends or whoever, and I'm the advisor. And it's so funny to me because I can tell them how to live their life and I can advise them, and it's like the greatest advice. But when it comes to myself and my own feelings are in it, it's so hard to determine and take myself away from the situation to reassess and approach things in a healthy way. And most recently, this all kind of resurfaced again. And no matter how much healing I felt that I did, it doesn't, sometimes things don't come up until you're actually dating somebody or seeing someone, or you have feelings for someone, or you're interested in someone. And then they start to bring out some stuff in you that might still need to be healed, right? And or vice versa. And I'll get into that in a minute. But so let's talk about these attachment styles. So as I said, understanding your attachment styles is it's really the first step in healing. And so anyway, let's break down. There's like 4 main types. The very first one that everyone strives to be in is a secure attachment. This is when you truly feel safe giving and receiving love. You're comfortable with intimacy. You trust others, and you communicate openly without fear of abandonment or being overwhelmed. This very serene, peaceful balance in the way that you approach relationships. You don't freak out. You're supportive without losing yourself. You express your needs calmly. And so this is the goal, right? This is what we all strive to be in a relationship. So even if you weren't raised this way, a secure attachment can be developed through self-work and healing your own relationships. So whether you're attached to somebody right now or not, if you're in a relationship or you're dating somebody, you can work through these things to better your relationships with your partner. And I'm hoping also that for those of us that are single, that we heal these things in us so that we attract vibrationally someone who can match our secure, healthy relationship style. And even if they're not fully healed and you're not fully healed, that you come together to create a balance and that you can talk through things and work through things, because no relationship is ever going to like come together and be perfect, right? How boring is that? But I would love to have the boring parts of no fighting and no drama and no game playing and no push and pull and no fears of vulnerability, because those are all toxic behaviors, right? That are never going to achieve fully loving and having a beautiful, secure, vulnerable union with another person. So the next one is anxious attachment. And this is when you crave closeness and reassurance, but you're constantly in fear of being abandoned. So you overthink, you become clingy, you try to earn your love through someone by being a people pleaser, you're constantly insecure. If they don't text back fast enough, then you start to spiral, you start creating things in your head, you replay conversations, you try to fix things, even before they go wrong. Like, even if nothing is wrong yet, you're like constantly scrambling, trying to keep this person from ever leaving you. And it's all based on fear. This could have been something that came because someone wasn't there for you when you were either growing up or in a past relationship. It could be like inconsistent parenting. Sometimes you got a lot of love and sometimes you didn't. Sometimes they held things over your head to punish you. Well, you didn't do this, so now you're going to, suffer or whatever. So it starts creating this people pleasing. If I do all this, then they're going to love me attitude, right? You you learned to be hyper aware of other people's feelings and reactions. So there's a lot of different ways to address this. And obviously, shadow work is one of the first things, which is going to be the first part of any of the healing that has to do with any of these attachment styles. Um, but but truly working on self-soothing when you're in an anxious state. Figure out some somatic exercise, EFT tapping, something to bring you down from that spiraling, hyper anxious feeling, because it sucks. It really sucks. I've been there. Um, Start setting boundaries and knowing when to stop and take a step back when you feel yourself getting a little anxious because they didn't text back, or they didn't react a certain way, or they didn't grab your hand, or you know I know I was constantly trying to like test people. Well, and playing with the universe. If she really loves me, she's going to reach out and hold my hand within 5 seconds. Okay, 5, 4, and then if it didn't happen, then I'd be like, oh my gosh, she doesn't love me. What's going to, or if she did, then I'd be like, oh, yay. And then I would do something else, so it's just like unhealthy. It's unhealthy because you're not feeling secure in the relationship. And it also puts a lot of pressure on the other person. And the other person could be avoidant, because a lot of times these anxious attachment style people are attracted to the avoidant. It's so counterintuitive, but we're attracted to these avoidant attachment people. And so what is an avoidant, right? And they're often, unfortunately, the villain of our story, especially for us that are like anxious attached people. And I believe also the dynamic in the twin flame would be like the divine feminine is often depicted as this anxious attachment, and the divine masculine is often the avoidant attachment, the runner. And so the story, of course, on healing, it should never be so that you can have union. And honestly, it's probably better not to know who your twin flame is. I think doing the inner work, or your soulmate, whatever it is that you believe in, or whatever, your true love, or the person that you're destined to be with, whatever. There's so many different names, right? But like, or your divine counterpart or whatever. But like, if you truly want that, I think it's always best not to think of a specific person, and just focusing on healing those things in yourself so that you vibrationally attract, and then focusing on the things that you want in a relationship rather than a specific person that now you're trying to force and control into being with you. And they may not be that person. They may not be the one that checks off all your boxes, but maybe the universe has someone. Not maybe, the universe will always have somebody who's better. Unless you haven't learned the lesson. I know for me, like my relationships, I'm constantly, even though like I kept finding emotionally unavailable people, still the main characteristics, they were way more compatible with me each time around. I think I needed to heal something in myself in order for me to attract someone who was also ready for love. And maybe I wasn't, maybe I thought I was and I wasn't. So the avoidant attachment is someone who values independence. They're almost hyper independent, and they avoid emotional closeness, either because it feels like they're suffocating or they're being controlled. They tend to withdraw, shut down, push people away when things are starting to get too intimate. If you're feeling too close, too romantic. They start feeling feelings. They withdraw, shut down. They might be the one who's going to ghost someone, run away. If someone gets too close, they feel overwhelmed. They don't like having emotional conversations about stuff. And avoidant is usually always one foot out the door, just ready to go, ready to run. And makes me think of that Chicks song, Ready to Run. Anyway, I'm not going to sing. um, so often an avoidant develops from childhood when your emotional needs were not met. And so then you learn to rely on yourself. It also happens circumstantially. So while this could be a feeling or a fear that develops, right? An insecurity that develops from your childhood, it could also stem from some relationships that have been in your life, either from being betrayed, giving you all, like being completely vulnerable, falling in love, having the perfect union, marriage, relationship, whatever, and then falling flat on your face because this person gutted you. They hurt you and dreams shattered. So now you're afraid of handing your love again. And you start developing these characteristics. So while maybe you're not a typical avoidant attachment person, these come up as things that that need to heal in you. And so a good tip, I guess, would be to practice being vulnerable, and in safe doses, right? Small doses, practice being a little vulnerable here and there, testing the waters, allow yourself to be seen, and remind yourself that a connection doesn't necessarily mean losing control, that you can still be in control of your life and your emotions and have your own independence, independent from that relationship, and meet that person halfway, right? And it's a healthy balance. So then there's a combination of the two, which is what I mostly resonate with personally, which is the fearful avoidant. So this is also called a disorganized attachment. I'm not crazy about that term, but I know that a fearful avoidant is kind of a mix, right, of the anxious and the avoidant. It's someone who craves love, but at the same time, they're really fearful of being hurt. So you may alternate from being clingy or pushing people away, or somewhere in between. You want a deep connection, but then like the moment that you get it, you feel unsafe or triggered, or you do something to self-sabotage. um, so yeah, so you're sabotaging relationships, you test people, you're emotionally shut down, you don't know why. And this is often linked to trauma or chaotic relationships, like early in relationships, where love was mixed with fear or inconsistency. Um, this for me was definitely from my very first relationship, where I had no idea that the person was a true narcissist. I'm not just, that term gets thrown around so much, but I was truly, truly, truly with someone who kept making me the problem. And I was young, so when you're in your late teens, early 20s, and you're just starting out, and I was so loving and innocent back then. And this person kept making me the problem. I kept catching them in lies and catching them doing things that were inconsistent, and it made me feel unsafe in the relationship dynamic. Not that I felt physically unsafe, but just emotionally. And so this created some trauma, like PTSD, type of stuff. So the style that requires deep inner work is in rebuilding trust. um, doing things to calm your nervous system. This has helped me completely, which is why EFT tapping, I'll talk about it in every single video, every chance I get. It's worked so, so well for me. It may not resonate with everybody. Sometimes something else might work. But for me, EFT tapping has been the most phenomenal because it works with the nervous system directly. It's like 10 years of talk therapy, because talk therapy is one version of it. And I'm going to like put my little inner caution here. I am not a doctor. I'm not a clinical psychologist. I'm a certified intuitive healer and a licensed massage therapist. So I am not here to give anybody any kind of mental health advice. I am just here sharing my journey and the things that I've learned, to maybe help whoever might resonate with this, and lead them, hopefully, or guide them, or for us to create a community together where we are helping each other. So that being said, EFT tapping, I think, is like therapy times 10. So anyway, this is why I love EFT so much. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and the short version is tapping, or you can say EFT tapping. And it's a powerful tool that I've used in my own healing journey because it combines the gentle tapping on the acupressure points with spoken affirmations that calm the nervous system. It also releases emotional blocks that are stuck in your body. So anytime that there's any kind of emotional trauma that happens, many, many times it gets stored in the body for years. Which is a lot of what I do as a therapist. I use acupressure points on the body with therapeutic techniques, massage techniques, and energy healing at the same time. But EFT puts the therapy into your own hands. And so then you start addressing deeper issues and trauma. And it's so effective because it doesn't just talk about, it's not just talking about your pain. It's not moving, going through stuff that's in your conscious mind. It taps into things that are in your subconscious mind. It allows you to move through it physically and energetically. You're working with the body, the mind, the emotions all at once. And for me, it helped where traditional talk therapy fell short for me. Again, I am not here to tell you what you should do in your journey, but if this is something that resonates, in the description, I will include a few of the people that that have helped me. There's 3 practitioners in particular, that you can find on YouTube. And yeah, so it's helped me release huge amount of trauma and grief and fear and the self-sabotage that kept me stuck in patterns of scarcity and unworthiness. So for those of you still listening, and if you're interested in this topic, you're probably on a spiritual journey just like me. And you're striving for spiritual growth. And I'm here to tell you something that you probably already know. Spiritual growth is not about being perfect, but it's about being honest, especially for yourself, for showing up for yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, to face something like today's topic, which is attachment wounds, and where those traumas actually came from, and healing from them. So you have to sit in that uncomfortable space, in those feelings, and figure out, why do I feel this way? What happened to me? and take accountability for our actions in the way that we've expressed them to other people in our dynamics. And sometimes we don't mean it. We mess up. We say things we don't mean. We get triggered. We fall back on old patterns. That doesn't make us broken. It happened to me. I did intense healing and it still came up in a very short-lived dynamic with someone that I had a very intense and beautiful connection with. But it brought up some triggers in me. And so I value that. I definitely put so much gratitude that this person became a mirror for me so that I can grow and realize and take accountability for the things that I did to push her away, the things that I did to sabotage our connection, the things that I did to push boundaries, even when she said she wasn't ready. But because of my insecurities and my attachment style, I, not consciously, I wasn't trying to be mean or malicious or selfish, but it brought up some like really severe anxiety and insecurity in me that I needed to address. And I needed to take a step back and regain my power and balance things out again within myself, so that if this person is meant to come back into my life, that I can show up better. So for those of us that are spiritually inclined, we're always seeking and trying to gain clarity and connection. And we're not just here surviving, trying to go through life, you know, we're trying to understand it. We're trying to break down every relationship and every connection, and every moment that hurts is a portal to something deeper. It's what separates spiritual seekers from those that just go through life and have a different purpose. But for us, this is what we signed up for. And we don't just want peace. We want alignment. We want healing that's going to transform us, and it's going to make us better people. It's going to comfort us, but not just that, right? We are constantly striving to grow. That's why we journal. That's why we meditate. That's why we pull tarot cards. That's why we pray, or we talk to our ancestors or our guides. And we know that there's more to this life than what we can actually see. And accountability, I believe, is one of the highest forms of spiritual maturity. When you can say that wasn't my best moment without spiraling into shame and self-infliction, that's healing. When you can admit that you were wrong and still hold compassion for yourself, that is power. That is taking back your power. And say, yeah, I own it. I acted like a fucking schmuck. But you know what? I'm better than that. And I'm going to learn from this. And I don't want to do that anymore. And I don't want to spiral like that. And I don't want to push you away. And I don't want to, do whatever hurtful, toxic behavior I did to sabotage this connection, or to sabotage my job, or the abundance that I'm trying to welcome into my life. And you own up to it. So I know this has turned into like a super long video, but I'm going to leave you with a couple of things before we get into the pick a card. Coming into alignment and healing and taking accountability is absolutely the first step. And you can take responsibility without shame. Don't be so hard on yourself. We're all here to learn and to become better people. And that is the key. If you try to blame others and say, well, I wouldn't have acted that way if she wasn't such an avoidant and blah, 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 then you're never going to grow and you're never going to get better by constantly trying to put blames on others. You got to let it go. Do cord cutting, let it go. If the person that traumatized you, betrayed you, hurt you is no longer in your life, do a cord cutting. Burn a piece of paper, go outside, do the things that are going to release them and focus back into yourself. Like I said in my first video, right? If you're a person who is struggling right now with emotional availability, if you are in this fearful avoidant dynamic, like me, for instance, I'm not emotionally unavailable, but I've definitely done things that created a push-pull, and I take responsibility for that, and I own up to it, and I'm working on these things. So one of the things that emotionally unavailable people do is they breadcrumb, or they ghost. And you can actually go back and, in your own way, offer an apology. You can do that in meditation. You can write a letter and burn it. If you're not talking to the person, if you don't want to talk to the person, you can do that and do an honest reflection in a safe space that can be very, very healing for both of you. You can just say, I wasn't ready and I didn't handle that well, and let go. And continue to be open to receiving love. Continue working on yourself so that you can become emotionally available and willing to receive love, feedback, and even living with a little bit of that discomfort and working through it without shutting down. And it's muscle memory, right? You can work through it. I've made some notes here, so if you hear some ruffling of like pages and stuff, it's because I'm like trying to work through my notes. I have these little like prompts of things that I wanted to talk about, but it's going to turn into a really long video. Anyway, my last thing is, you don't have to be fully healed to be loved, or to love another person. You just have to be willing to try. And to learn, you just show up honestly and communicate. Start with communication. So anyway, that's all I got for today. I definitely have some other stuff that I can get into. This is like a really deep subject because you start learning a lot about yourself by learning what part you had in a relationship dynamic, and then some of the things that you need to heal in order for you to start loving yourself again and start trusting. By opening yourself up and addressing those wounds and healing them, you start feeling more empowered and more worthy to start manifesting things in other areas in your life, not just in relationships. So anyway, I hope this was informative. I hope this was helpful. Maybe it put you to sleep. Maybe you've skipped all of this and you just go through to the pick a pile. I don't know. But whatever, I humbly am extremely grateful for anyone who has stuck around and listened. I welcome your feedback. I got a lot of really great feedback on my first video from a few people. And so it kind of motivated me to keep going. And I don't know where this is going to evolve, but I'm hoping to turn this into a healing space for us, to grow and learn together so that we can manifest. I'm not here to teach necessarily. Like I do gather my information, I do my research, I come from experience in some of the things that I've had to live through, that have helped me evolve and grow and ascend. And so I'm here to share that experience with you. But I don't know everything. I'm growing and I'm learning as I go. And I hope I never stop learning. This has been an amazing journey. So anyway, I'll see you in a few minutes, or in a few seconds. I'll see you in your pick a pile. Hi, welcome to your pick a pile portion. I'm going to do a really short pick a pile. It's been a long video, and there was so much information that I wanted to talk about. So this is just a short little message to help guide you on what messages Spirit has for you. And I picked a chakra oracle and a crystal oracle. So this is pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. And let's get started with pile 1. If you chose pile 1, sorry, my phone did a little thing there. You got the sacral chakra card, which is for creativity, and it's in the water element. Creativity says, I am free to play, free to love, laugh, and experiment. I am free to experience, to create, and to manifest. I am free to be myself. I allow my creative potential to flow through me in all of its glory and magnificence. I flow. And your crystal card is garnet, commitment, and heart and sacral chakras. This is absolutely beautiful. If you chose pile 2, your chakra card is the heart chakra. And that stands for forgiveness. It's in the air element. It says, I forgive myself for my imperfections. I do my best and I find contentment in all that I am good enough. I recognize my hurts and nurture my inner child with all that he or she needs. I forgive others for their preconceptions, judgments, and behaviors, trusting that we are all doing our best with our current levels of awareness and patterning. I forgive. It's very powerful. Your crystal is the apophyllite, which is connection and third eye and crown chakras. So there you go. Pile 2. If you chose pile 3, your card is third eye chakra, intuition, and that's the light element. I have intuition and know how to use it. I trust my intuition. I listen to my inner visions, imaginings, messages, and sense of knowing, allowing my intuition to guide me. I release the need to know, and I allow my intuition to develop at a pace that's right for me. I am guided. Your crystal is the moonstone. It's associated with moon cycles and the crown chakra. That is really powerful. So this is what I have for you, pile 3. Thank you all for joining me today on this topic. Please like and subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.